Have you ever wanted to dive deeper into the horror movies you love? Beyond the Blood is a horror podcast for fans who want more than just surface level screams. We do deep dives into the movies that shaped us, digging into director commentaries, behind the scenes stories, deleted scenes, and the special features that most people skip. Each episode is a love letter to the genre. We break down how these films were made, the creative risks that paid off or didn't, and the lasting impact they've had on the genre as a whole. From 70s slashers to modern nightmares, we celebrate the craft, chaos, and characters that keep us coming back. If you're the kind of fan who rewatches movies with the commentary on, or you simply grew up in the video store horror aisle, the Beyond the Blood podcast was made for you. New episodes every single week. Subscribe, and let's dig deep. Welcome to the Beyond the Blood podcast.
We made this.
And I'm Jess Byard.
And we are the hosts of the One Season Show, a podcast where we take a look at TV shows which only lasted one season from start to finish.
Each month we're going to be tackling several episodes of our very first season of choice, Werewolf 1987, Fox's first and probably only werewolf program.
Right? I mean, there haven't been very many other. I think there's that Teen Wolf show, but that's on MTV. So.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I don't know if Fox specifically had another werewolf show, and, I'm starting to see why.
Werewolves just aren't as sexy as vampires. That's what it is, right?
Well, I mean, you know what? It's funny that we're watching this show because in my life outside of the podcast bubble, I am a giant nerd, and every Monday with my friends, I play an RPG that is Werewolf. It is a werewolf game, so we're all just different characters. But in that game, we get to go into a lot more stuff with the lore, and with that, you kind of get to change whenever you want, and it's more controlled. And being a werewolf kind of is a better option because you can at least still walk in the day, you can still consume food, so you can kind of blend in with people better than vampires can.
Unless you look like Chuck Connors.
Right. Well, and then they can just strategically block your face and nobody will know.
Eric Cord was just an ordinary college student until he was attacked by his roommate, a werewolf. Now he's running for his life, chased by a bounty hunter for the murder of his cursed friend. In pursuit himself of the evil werewolf Skorzeny, the source of his bloodline, a beast who must die to set Eric free. A race against time and the bloodlust that threatens to overwhelm him. Now, Werewolf, the legend continues.
On this third episode of the One Season Show, we're going to be talking about episodes 9 through 14 of Werewolf. Those episodes are Friendly Haven, Let Us Pray, A World of Difference Part 1 and Part 2, which I assume will take up most of the time of this podcast, The Unicorn, and All Hallows Eve is where we're going to be stopping on this podcast. So, let's get right into it with Friendly Haven. It aired September 26th, 1987. It is directed by David Hemmings, written by Tom Blomquist. I'm not going to mention the normal folks that are in the episode, Lance DeGault, John J. York, those folks we expect they're going to be in the episodes. Chuck Connors is actually in this episode. The kind of the secondary guest stars BB Osterwald, Dabs Greer, Sunshine Parker. The episode focuses on yet again Eric looking for Skorzeny. The way he says Skorzeny is just oh lordy. This episode finds Eric in a town that is convinced Bigfoot is killing people. And Eric fights Chuck Connors is Skorzeny in the woods, and then is taken in by a older woman named Mary who has a secret of her own.
Right. And I mean,
the secret is she's a ghost. I guess.
Well,
I don't
she's
know.
A werewolf.
Do you know? I don't have a fucking clue.
All right, so yeah, he gets taken in by, basically these people are looking for Bigfoot. He gets shot, I think, and
Well, he fights Chuck Connors. You actually see Chuck Connors in the woods fighting Eric Cord. Again, it's all slow motion. Right. It's not great. Look, when they have the werewolf suits look fine. However, when the werewolves are fighting, it just looks like two people going, ugh.
Right, because in addition to being abhorrently edited, it's horribly lit. Like, you can't see anything most of the time, unless it's like freeze frame.
Well, it's like they didn't have confidence in the effects.
No, and they should have, because that's the best part of the show.
Agreed.
And that's where they put in all their money. So, I mean, they went full on. Like, yeah, this show does have a lot of werewolf transformation, obviously, and that's what sunk it ultimately financially, but it's still, they have a good product there, but they don't know how to act like they have a good product there. And then the stories don't at all help boost that. And so he gets taken in by this woman, and turns out she's like a Skorzeny groupie, I guess.
It's not explained, and on top of everything else, it does this really cheap, what I would say, lame thing of a dream sequence within a dream sequence. Like,
right.
Oh my God, like, double dream sequence, come on, like, but then it turns out that the dream sequence is real?
Is real, yeah. It's like a fever dream. Like, he's experiencing it, but because he's feverish or whatever, it just seems like exaggerated and strange. But yeah, so we're with this woman, and you think she's just a normal, nice lady, except no, you don't. It's just obvious something's about to happen. And I guess when she talks about how the whole reason she let Eric in and was so trusting is because her father, let in strangers all the time, but that also ultimately pretty much got him killed by Skorzeny. And then she is like a young woman, and we don't know exactly how young at that point, is like taken by Skorzeny pretty much, or like...
But that's what you're like led to believe?
Turned, and therefore she is you have to be bound to him, I guess.
I guess so.
And then at the end, it's her father and her gravestones, because he turns out the father...
Hello and welcome to Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys. My name is Hunter. In this podcast, I'll be joined by a different guest each week to discuss a classic Western movie or TV show. I've been a fan of classic Westerns for as long as I can remember, and in recent years, they've become very nostalgic for me. I love the aesthetic, the tropes, and I love seeing different filmmakers' takes on them. At their best, they're incredibly entertaining, rewatchable, and some of my all-time favorite movies are Westerns. We'll mostly focus on Western movies made in Hollywood, but we'll also be covering spaghetti Westerns, and one thing I'm very excited to get into are Western TV shows. I've got some amazing guests coming on the show, film professors, historians, and podcasters. And Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys is part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, and many guests on the show will be from other shows on the network. Thanks for listening.
Let in a stranger, and he murdered her and murdered him and the daughter. See, I think that they just put up the gravestone for her and assumed that she was missing, or he took the body or whatever.
I assumed that what was going on was she actually died and he was imagining everything.
So he's just laying in this house?
Yeah, but here's the thing. Because the episode isn't very clear, it's not obvious. Honestly, if you watch the episode, which, if you're listening along with us, the hope is that you will watch it. Again, it's all on YouTube in its entirety. That's where we're having to watch it. If you watch it, you're gonna come to the same conclusion that we did, which is it is a narratively muddled episode that does not help itself by having this double dream sequence that turns out to not be real because Bibi Osterwald and her dad died from the drifter who maybe was Skorzeny, I guess?
Yeah,
the amount of coincidence in this show with Skorzeny it gets worse. I mean,
it really does.
It gets way worse. And look, I know that the show is Werewolf. We know it's about Eric Cord looking for Skorzeny. That's fine. But not every single episode has to be but Skorzeny was here. And there aren't. But these first couple episodes on this episode that we're doing don't really help that case.
No, not at all. But really, these first couple episodes, it's he's there, and then for a while he's not at all. Yeah. And you kind of wish he would come back, but we'll get there. Do you want to just move on to let us pray? Because pretty much that first episode there, it's just an ultimate nothing episode, because
Nothing
whether
is
or not
gained,
it's
nothing
real
is understood.
or and it comes down to these townspeople, and it's the same thing every episode. It's Eric Cord is so damned nice and charming that everybody's gonna lie to Alamo Joe when he comes looking for him,
and he is nice and charming. So I mean, we get it, but Dabs Greer and Sunshine Parker are fun. I wish they were in the episode.
yeah, they were
more.
fun. They were like actually trying.
As the two old men playing chess, that's fun. But, the whole stuff going on at the house that may or may not be real when Eric Cord is being nursed back to health by a ghost? ? Not great.
Or a werewolf lady? ?
But we get to see Bibi Osterwald in werewolf makeup, which kind of
true.
makes up for it.
It does. It's interesting. I think that's the first female werewolf we're getting in this show.
But let's move on to Let Us Pray. That episode aired, Let Us Pray, P-E-P-R-E-Y. That episode aired October 3rd, 1987. It is directed by James Darren, written by Alan Cole and Chris Bunch. They've written several episodes up until this point. Some of the lesser kind of character actors, Stephen Burns, Robert Carricart, Mel Carter, David Crowley, Kenneth Kimmins, all playing brothers at a monastery where Eric happens upon, and they take him in for safe haven, and then Alamo Joe shows up again looking for him. They tell him to go away, but then it turns out Skorzeny has turned someone in the monastery into a werewolf. Because reasons.
Right. Just because he can, I guess?
Like, they took him in at one point, I guess, and helped him out, and
right.
his repayment was just to turn one of them into a werewolf, I guess.
Here you go. One of you gets to be immortal with this curse. But, so here, and this is kind of what the previous episode to this, the first one, Friendly Haven, if we're to believe that, let's say that the story is that she is a werewolf. Let's just say that that's the reality.
Sure.
And so then he moves on to this monastery, which is presumably only maybe a town or two over, because he's not making that much, headway on foot and hitchhiking. So is Skorzeny just, forming a cult? He's just leaving followers all over where he goes?
That's what the implication is.
But I mean, I feel like it's going to go absolutely nowhere. I think this is just Eric needs a bad guy every episode, so we're going to do this. But I mean, I would watch this show. I would watch the werewolf priests versus everybody else. I think that would be pretty awesome.
I mean, it's not that I disliked this episode, but again, it ultimately feels like an episode that goes nowhere.
Right. It's just filler.
And,
it's just, we need something for Eric to do.
And you have that monologue at the end with one of the brothers who is turned into a werewolf, and he's like, I want to hunt with you, and you're the, Skorzeny left, but I'm still here, so let's hunt together. It's like, whoa, what? Where is all of this even coming from?
And then you never hear about it again.
Yeah. The ultimate failure of some of these episodes is, it's like The Simpsons. It just comes back to square one right at the end of the episode. The episode doesn't make any progress for the character. He goes on this journey only to come right back to square one. And that is really a failure because the character should be growing through each episode.
Right. Especially in this type of show. The Simpsons is, a comedic cartoon, and that's fine.
It's a
they don't have to
sitcom.
do that. Yeah, it's a sitcom, and they don't have to have any growth. But this is a drama.
Well, it's supposed
for all
to
intents
be.
and purposes, it's a drama, a horror drama, which is even more laughable. But still, you can't have this real life person just running around and not growing. And all he does is jump from job to job to job to job. It's insane how easily he gets these jobs.
Well, we'll get to that. But I wanted to wait until the end of the episode to talk about this, but you've already broached it, so let's talk about it. There is a narrative disconnect. So much so in these episodes when it just opens and it's like, and Eric Cord has a new job.
Right.
How? What?
How?
Huh?
Where? How long has he been in town? What town is he in now? How?
Somewhere in California. I mean, that's made
he
obvious.
has no residence, so how? I mean, now you apply for a job, you have to have your ID, you have to have a residence, you have to have background check, you have to have probably sometimes a drug test, whatever. I realize it was different in 1987, so maybe not a drug test, maybe not quite as in-depth background check or one at all. But I would still think that you would need, like, an ID or, which I mean, I guess he has, but, like, a residence. And why is he also just using his regular name and not trying to wear a disguise? He's just running around as Eric Cord, man on the run for murder. But he's just so nice and everybody loves him, so it's okay. He'll always get by.
There is a narrative disconnect in this show, like you mentioned, and it doesn't make any sense. Well, and it's more obvious, it's more apparent the later in this episode, in these stand of episodes we get. But this episode is, again, very much like the last episode. No real movement is made in his character, and I think we just need to kind of reconcile that that's going to be the case. That there is no movement made with the character, and kind of just stop talking about it, because getting hung up on it's not going to help anyone.
No, it's just that's how it is. That's whenever it is not a centered, focused episode on, like, the lore, you know, the background, the ultimate goal, which I guess is to find Skorzeny and kill him so he's not cursed anymore. When it's not about that loose plot, it's about nothing, because they were just like, oh, this is how other shows do this. This whole show is it's such an outline or skeleton of what it really ultimately wants to be. It has ideas and it just doesn't know how to piece them together at all. Like you said, the narrative disconnect is just constant, and nobody is interesting. Not the side characters that they briefly introduce. And Eric Cord is very just mundane, standard, like, you know,
he's a
Mr. Protagonist hero, and Chuck Connors is sometimes in it.
Well, and the other thing about the show and the way that they kind of structured these episodes is what you have is, if it's not a Skorzeny episode, you have a conflict that is solved by Eric Cord turning into a werewolf.
Right.
And that's it. Like, that's how every conflict is resolved in this show and he becomes a werewolf, and the werewolf scares the people away, kills them, who knows?
And I guess he can control it. Later on, though, in a farther up episode as we go here, he actually, like, there's a sense of recognition.
Right.
So there's some kind of more, he's still connected to his humanity in some way.
Unlike
for just
Skorzeny,
some reason,
yes.
Other than he's just has to be the hero, so we have to make him likable all the time. He can't have any bad. He couldn't possibly actually kill someone. It has to always be another werewolf or a human or whatever who did it.
A baddie.
Right. A heavy.
Yeah. So, let's go on to A World of Difference, which is directed by James Darren, written by Craig Tepper. Some of the character actors in the episode are David Cowgill, Lee DeBrew, and James Morrison. So this is a part 1 of part 2. So we're going to just talk about both as one full experience, if you want to call it that.
Spectacularly.
This is the first episode where I think we should mention Lance DeGault is really focused heavily. These are almost his episodes.
You learn everything about him.
Yeah, you really do. So part 1 and part 2 aired on October 10th and 17th in 87. They're both directed and written by the same guys. And they focus on kind of like not like a Rashomon style story, but like a story that you're told, and then there's a lot of like flashbacks.
Right, like the end happens, and then you go back and figure out what happens.
Yeah,
to lead up to that. Except for the fact that there's absolutely no structure and
no way of telling that they're going back.
That's what they're doing. Yeah.
Yeah. So Alamo Joe finds Eric Cord in a jail cell, and he kills Eric Cord.
Which, first of all, let's just stop there. Why
this
is
the
Eric
first problem, folks?
Why is Eric in jail?
We have no idea.
We have no idea, and we never know. The show opens with Eric like running like down a busy street, and then he's in a jail cell now. Alamo Joe has tracked him down because of course he has. Oh, well, hold on. We skipped over. We didn't talk about the family that lets him know where he is.
Oh, Teresa Saldana?
Rose, yes.
Yeah.
Rose and her creepy as fuck children.
He's a good man, Alamo Joe Rogan. He's a good man.
Basically, evidently, while, in the interim between werewolf priests and now, Eric Cord went to this town, got a job at Rose's restaurant, helped out, charmed them, blah, blah, blah. Then he got picked up by the police for vagrancy and not having an ID. And then they found out, he's got the murder rap over his head.
So they're going to extradite him back to L.A.
Right, but Alamo Joe says, no, hey, I'm here with my warrant for first come, first serve. I want him. But we never know how, like, I guess that's how we know that he got in jail, but we don't know how he even got to this town. We don't see him build any relationship with any of these people, but all of a sudden we're supposed to give a shit about this woman and her kids. Because every time you see her, and she's dressed in these prairie time clothes for some reason, it's just this, like, sad, sentimental music over her where you should just be feeling so bad for her, but you don't because you don't know who the fuck she is.
Why isn't she clutching her rosaries like, Eric Cordy, help me? Like, oh, right. God. It's written so poorly that it's not a stereotype because Teresa Saldana doesn't have an accent, but it's that kind of character.
She does have some kind of...
But it's not like a heavy...
No, it's not a heavy one.
Like, Dios mío, Eric Cordy's a werewolf. Like, there's none of that, but that's what they're going for.
Yeah, you can tell. And the way they dress her, like she is, in like early 20th century, like
Mexico. Very modest, which is weird. And oh my God, like these two episodes are this entire experience is so poorly.
This is what would Eric. Eric.
Yes,
I was calling you.
I am aware of it. Thank you. Or if Chris. You're calling me other Eric, boy.
No, it was an Eric Cord. Eric Cord. No. I was about to say this is what it would be like if this show were longer, if the episodes were longer. And good God, thank God they aren't, because they don't actually know how to structure a longer episode. Because right when he's talking to these people, the kid's like, hey, are those silver bullets? And he doesn't say shit to him because he's a bounty hunter and he's trying to get shit done. And then all of a sudden the kid has one of the bullets in his hand, and I thought like he just sneaky took one, and I'm like, wow, that was really easy. But then later on in the second part, he's like, oh, remember that bullet I gave you? And I'm like, you didn't do that. I didn't see that. None of that happened.
Yeah.
And they did not know what I don't even know how they wrote this as part 1 and part 2. Was it different writers on each episode?
No, it was the same writer, same director. That's the crazy part. It feels...
Same editor.
Yeah. It feels between the part 1 and part 2, it feels so disjointed that it shouldn't be the same episode. And then you have the B plot of, well, Alamo Joe got possibly bit by Eric. Right. So now is he a werewolf? And then that's never really addressed.
Not
and
yet.
Eric dies, and that's never really addressed. Like even in the next episode past this two-parter, it's not even addressed. It's so weird. It's like, it's almost like this show was written for an audience whose attention span was that of the attention span of like the kids who watch MTV today. It's like, you don't care about plot. You just care about sweet rock guitar riffs and a werewolf suit. And like, that's what it feels like sometimes. It feels like they didn't put any effort into writing the script.
Well, yeah. And I mean, as we go, we'll definitely hit in deep, but I want to make sure we don't forget here that after Alamo Joe is told by Rose to, he's in jail, he goes there, and we cut to the jail, and the sheriff is in the middle of phone sex? Question mark?
He's like, oh yeah.
Like,
say what you're gonna do to me. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. It's like, okay. And then Alamo Joe comes in and, the joke, oh, hold that thought, honey. I gotta...
He zips up his pants because he was touching himself. Like, whoa, what show are we watching all of a sudden? This is not Werewolf.
No, and I also like that they actually try to make you think, gasp, will Eric Cord finally be caught by Alamo? No, this show's called Werewolf. He's obviously not going to actually be caught by Alamo Joe at all. This whole thing, there's no stakes in this episode whatsoever. We always know he's going to get away. It's just we're waiting to get there. And you have to wait a long time. But now Alamo Joe knows he's a werewolf, or believes he's a werewolf, but evidently he always knew he was a werewolf.
I get, that's the thing, it's so narratively muddled.
I thought at the beginning of this, he was purely after him because he thought he murdered it, he was out for murdering his friend. But then we get this whole thing and that it was like, oh no, he's actually been aware of werewolves this whole time, and he was hunting Eric Cord specifically, or he was hunting this werewolf specifically that led to Eric Cord, and I guess, and he's been doing it for so long that evidently he had a wife or a girlfriend that he had to leave because he was so invested in this cause, I guess.
Yeah, that's also not made aware, so Gwen Humble plays Alamo Joe's girlfriend?
Yeah.
Who
Yeah, it seems
knows?
pretty easy to just leave. There's no, like, divorce papers needed.
He's like, later, if you don't want my stuff, throw it in the trash. It's like, what
Right.
the fuck? Also, we've also not mentioned the biggest part of this, the big revelation of part 1 and part 2. Something that you actually texted me. The text, I believe, read, so wait, Alamo Joe is a Native American?
Yes. Because there's
so.
Well, Alamo Joe is waiting because basically the sheriff, after he gets there, tells him to, like, fuck off. He can't, wait while or the deputy tells him, go wait. You're not the boss of me. I gotta wait till the sheriff comes in to say if you can have him or not. So he goes to Rose's, which is where he is. And this is important because this is gonna get into our editing problems. He's at Rose's right now eating food. And then all of a sudden, we cut to the jail, and then we cut back, and he's at a bar with
Talking
these
to the
assholes. With these assholes, and there's a line that, hey, shout out to Cleveland for some reason. They ask him where he's from, they make a joke about Cleveland, and then the bartender says, isn't that right, Indian? Which, oh god. Oh god.
That's aged really well, hasn't it? Anytime, red man.
Also, Lance LeGault is not, he was born, I looked it up, he was born in Chicago. I'm not saying that maybe he doesn't have some Native American blood. I mean,
he has a dark.
But he is not fine, but he's not a Native American man.
No.
And he doesn't look like one at all. And they're up to this point, we had no idea why they called him Alamo Joe, and I didn't really need to know. I just, fine, whatever. He's a bounty hunter. He has a nickname.
What
but
about
evidently,
the line, you wanted to stop pretending to be an Indian, so now you're a cowboy? Oh no.
Right. And, I mean, so we're now told, after we learn that he is a Native American, and we learn that he has a girlfriend, or had a girlfriend, that he had to leave because he's been on this werewolf vision quest, I guess, because that's what he does. He goes to this tribe, because here's what happens, and here's some more editing problems. We're at the bar, right? He gets, basically jumped by these dudes because he yells at them. They, are being dicks, and the editing is so bad, the sound is completely off, all of the sound design is late. And then we skip to he's back at Rose's, eating more food, I guess. And then we're slowly taken back to him going, remembering Madge, his girlfriend, and going to see this tribe where he goes on, takes this sort of vision quest, whatever, and has this revelation, I guess. And then he learns how to make silver bullets. And we're told this in about a 4-minute montage that I didn't realize was a montage until about 2 minutes in.
Again, a lot of the stuff that takes place is just so poorly edited. Like, the editing in this episode is just atrocious.
It's spectacularly incompetent. I can't...
look, if you're going to have dream sequences or flashbacks, you got to make it more obvious than cutting back to the character somewhere else out of context. Like, what the actual fuck are you doing, show?
Right. And, I mean, it's just... So he has this fight, and then he's all of a sudden back at Rose's, and then we learn, the deputy comes back and says, hey, you can't have Eric. And then Eric escapes, of course, because he has to turn into a werewolf. And then all of a sudden, cut from Alamo Joe running with his gun to the immediate next scene is, Alamo Joe laying with his fucking throat ripped out, almost.
Yeah.
And I guess Eric Cord is dead. From the 1 second that the paramedic touched him, yeah.
It's such a bad way to do a two-parter. And so the first part ends with Eric Cord in the morgue, on the slab, in the, the vertical, I don't know what they call it, where they hold the bodies, that the bodies sit on the thing.
The body cabinet.
Yeah, sure. That's what we'll call it. And then the second episode ends with a freeze frame of the same thing.
Right.
And they're like, he's gone, bum, 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 because of course Eric Cord's not going to die. And the second episode is just Nothing.
No, it's just Alamo Joe trying to get, like, the doctors to tell him whether or not he was bit or just scratched because he wants to know if he's going to be a werewolf now. And Eric is, like, trapped in the morgue. And, I mean, he's not even trapped because we never see... You keep waiting for that moment that's in all of these things where somebody who's not dead gets locked in one of these cabinets, and then when they wake up... That never happens.
We just see
until he's just gone.
Yeah, we just see the aftermath of him breaking out as the werewolf.
And okay, but you're not... but do we even see him as the werewolf breaking out of that cabinet?
No, we
don't.
We just see the aftermath. It's so dumb.
He's just gone. Just absolutely. And so the whole rest of that episode is just more of Alamo Joe. But the hilarious thing is they... want to bring his girlfriend back for a moment so that he has he calls her and tells her, yeah, I think it's over. And then 5 minutes later is very clearly not over. And I guess this show's just going to keep going on and we're never, ever going to go revisit that plot point.
Nope. But Eric Cord is now alive again, shockingly.
I guess, and how did he get out of... I mean, even... So we're
werewolf
to assume
strength,
that he
Jess,
turned into
werewolf
a werewolf
strength.
In the morgue and didn't... Because that door wasn't totally exploded, was it? Wasn't it just opened?
The werewolf used his skills to open it very gently. I actually misspoke. The freeze frame for the second part doesn't end on the cabinet. It actually ends on Alamo Joe looking at his hands.
Yeah.
Great.
Just looking at them, just like, oh, am I going to turn into a werewolf? And then we don't know.
Yeah. So again, it like I mentioned at the top of the episode, we're going to talk mostly about this two-parter because it's the first two-parter. It's also just...
It's atrocious.
It is somehow worse than I honestly imagined it could have been. And I don't even know what the title is in reference to.
No, I was going to ask you the same thing. I'm like, a world of difference. What? How? What? What does that mean? What? Why? What are we doing here?
In reference to...
Nothing was learned.
Alamo Joe may be sympathizing with Eric Cord more because he knows the truth, so it makes a world of difference?
I guess, except that he's still hunting him down in the next couple episodes.
Right. It's like, but by the way, nothing was learned, nothing was gained.
No, yeah, like this whole thing, like you learn about Alamo Joe, I guess, but none of it matters because none of it like actually broadens his character at all. It's just, they're just like factoids. It was like, oh, and he had a girlfriend. Oh, and he did this. And he was Native American. Did you know that? No, I didn't because he's a white man. Like, I did. Or at least like... Real quick, did you notice that he was wearing his hospital gown backwards?
I did. They don't even care. It's fine. So let's move on to the next episode, The Unicorn. It aired
the nothing episode.
Well, I don't know about that. I would disagree with that actually a little bit. So the episode aired October 25th, 1987. It is written by Mark Jones, directed by Lyndon Chubbuck. The big character actor in this episode, pretty well known, Tony Todd. Yes. Tony Candyman Todd plays a pimp.
He wasn't Candyman yet.
He wasn't Candyman yet, but he will be Candyman in the future. And Tracy Lind plays his prostitute who ran away. So the thing this is the episode I wanted to touch on, the narrative disconnect. All of a sudden, Eric Cord is alive and a taxi cab driver.
Yeah. He went to taxi cab driving. Like, don't you have to get like a specific license to do that?
He also went back to L.A. He's in Hollywood. Like, he's outside of the fucking CBGB is what it feels like. Or the whatever, not the CBGB, because that's in New York.
It kind of feels like he's in New York, though.
Right, but what's the name of the club in L.A.? The Whiskey. It's like he's outside the Whiskey A Go-Go is what it looks like. And so the whole episode focuses on Eric tracking Skorzeny again, and Skorzeny is killing prostitutes in L.A., and Eric is, of course, mistaken for the killer. Yeah, so why Eric is a taxi cab driver is never really
That's
explained.
Just the job he got.
Also, this is not the first time, but this is definitely the most egregious use of the Chuck Connors body double.
Oh my god.
So there's two times. It's at the beginning, you see a POV shot of Chuck Connors, and the prostitute's like, hey, you want some of this?
Right, because he's not in the show anymore at this point, right?
Right, I guess. Or he's just
only in it for 5 episodes?
I guess so, yeah. And they're like, you want some of this, big boy? That is actually how I talk. And
that's what Chris's other job is on.
Yeah. Hey, big boy, you want some of this? And then, she gets murdered by Skorzeny. but again, you see him from the back of his head, so it's just like a guy in a salt and pepper wig. And then at the end of the episode, it's the same body double, but he pulls his face off and becomes a werewolf. That's a little less egregious because
he's going to become a werewolf.
Yeah,
I know that's happening.
But yeah, this episode is my favorite of the 7 that we've watched here.
I mean, that's fair.
Because not only do you get the Skorzeny compilation of Eric just saying it in his fever dream, but also we get to talk about a hooker who likes the horn, the unicorn horn. So,
right.
And she was, and I'm quoting the episode directly, a smack freak.
Right. But she got herself off it all by herself, and then she went and married somebody, but then he beat her up, so she became a hooker again.
I'm a smack freak. Man, what is... I know the show was in 87, but I'm not sure people said, yo, you a smack freak.
No, they probably did. I feel like that was...
Sure. If you were alive in 87 and knew any, and I'm quoting the show, smack freaks, please reach out to us on Twitter.
Please tell us.
Please tell us.
Yeah, this is pretty much just another filler episode. And that's what I mean by like a nothing episode. It's just... boom, and here we are. But this is one of the more fun ones. This is one of the more, like, engaging, okay, we're actually, like, werewolf action is happening, and, you know, this is a bad situation, so you want to see Eric Cord, you know, win out on this and help this woman. And Tony Todd is in it, and he's, you know, obviously Tony Todd, and he doesn't get a lot to do, really, in this at all.
But he's
like, he doesn't even show up until, like, halfway through it, and it's 22 minutes, so, like, 10 minutes into the show is halfway through it.
He's sweet old Charlie, though, which is a pimp name about as good as Pepperjack from Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I mean, it's like, that's not an intimidating pimp name like Pepperjack Love, Fraggle Rock, like that. It's not intimidating. It's in Always Sunny, it's played for laughs. Here it's like, yo, sweet old Charlie, don't like it when his bitch disrespects him. Like, okay. And then apparently he also has like kung fu artists in his employ, because at one point the guy does like a fucking midair roundhouse kick to knock Eric Cord out.
Oh, is this their, like, attempt at some sort of, like, blaxploitation werewolf knot meets werewolf kind of knot? I kind of got that vibe a little bit just with setting and that whole experience.
But it's one of these episodes where it's someone is tangled up with Eric Cord, and then Eric Cord ends up turning into a werewolf and defusing the situation through being a werewolf. You know, and then, of course, Alamo Joe shows up at the end and he's like, where's Eric Cord? And she's like, I don't know, copper. And again, it's never referenced that Eric Cord has been dead. There's no ramifications for him being dead, nothing. And it's really weird that they make the point to have him die in the last episode, only for him to just be like, and now I'm a cab driver and I've been asleep in my cab. Like, what the hell?
I wonder if there was, like, he couldn't be there for production for that episode. Like, maybe he was sick or he had a family emergency or something. So
sure.
John J. York was like, no, sorry, I can't be in this episode. So they're like, okay, well, we'll put you in like a weird werewolf coma, and that's where you'll be, and then you'll escape. I hadn't
thought about it that way, but that's a pretty good idea.
I could see that happening, and I mean, at the time, maybe if you were watching it, you might have known that. If you were, like, you know, really invested in the show and the actors in it, I don't know.
I mean, that reminds me of, like, It's Always Sunny. How I Met Your Mother, where they, like, write off the Allison Hannigan's character, just like, she was so offended by the joke, she was gone for a very long time. And it's like, because she was actually pregnant and having a kid in real life. And it's, like, kind of like that, but the show doesn't have any self-awareness to be like, let's just write him off for an episode.
Right. It's just, and that's what I'm saying, like, about the show being sort of like a skeleton or not. Like, they kind of have it, you can tell they have an idea of what they're trying to do. It doesn't come together right. Like, they don't have talented enough group of people.
No.
And a focused enough group of people working on this, because they have, you know, different writers and different directors for almost every episode, and there's really no cohesion between any of those, and it's really sloppy, and it astonishes me that these people, like, made this show for Fox, and it was on the air like this. Like, it's just, wow.
Yeah, look, again, this is obviously still the inaugural season for Fox. This is their first attempt at a horror show. It's very much not where it is now with the network. And, I have my own qualms about Fox, and I'm sure we're going to talk about it more and more when we get to one season shows that are beloved that are canceled versus one season shows that have kind of been forgotten. But yeah, it's a poorly, there are some episodes that feel better written than others, but the lack of narrative connection between the episodes, especially ones that are trying to tell a story that actually will have some impact on the overall narrative and mythology and arc of the show, is kind of disappointing. Especially when you have him die in the last episode, and this episode's just like, that last episode doesn't even matter. It was a 2-part, whatever.
Right, and we don't know how he died, because in that episode, we didn't mention it, but they show inevitably that it was also the deputy that shot him, so he didn't get shot with silver bullets. So I guess he just was in, like...
Play dead?
Yeah.
Sure.
I guess. Or not pretending, like maybe just in some kind of, like, weird coma? I don't know.
Sure. I have no idea. They don't explain it.
No, and it is disappointing, because, like, if you listen to the first episode of this podcast, you and I were kind of hopeful for this show, because it just starts off, it starts off cheesy, obviously, and a little rocky, but we expect that for what it is. But it's just, it's amazing how fast it went, just rapidly downhill.
Well, but here's the thing. It's almost not just a straight downhill. It's like, it's oscillating. There's real bad, mediocre, and some bright spots. And it's like, there doesn't seem to be like an average middle of the road, like mid-level, where it's just like, it's good and bad, but it's not really, it's not really going so far out of whack. So, and
we're showing you that other werewolves exist, and other than Eric, they all seem to be evil, quote unquote, but nobody's like, we're not talking about packs. We're not talking about, like the inner workings of like werewolf culture or anything. We're not getting any of that. And we could be.
Right.
Even with these episodes being short, they could still make a narrative with that. Even being that 22, 25 minutes, whatever.
And let's be honest, if this show were an hour long, oh dear.
Well, we saw what it would be like when it was 45 minutes long, and it's, ooh.
Yeah, exactly. Especially, couldn't you imagine that week to week to week to week? Like, holy hell, like, geez Louise. One other thing about this episode I wanted to mention, the werewolf suit, we finally see it in pretty good lighting at the end of this episode. It looks pretty good, but there clearly isn't any, the jaw and the face of the werewolf costume is a mask. It's not a prosthetic. So because it's a mask, not a prosthetic, it looks like every other Halloween costume, werewolf mask you've ever seen, which is just a frozen expression. And it's like a mildly surprised expression. So the werewolf just looks constantly in shock.
Just, what?
What?
Like it's Scooby-Doo as a werewolf.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. But I think the werewolf suit, the werewolf suit was done by Rick Baker, so,
that's pretty awesome.
Pretty well done.
And I mean, yes, we know, we keep saying it, that's where the money went. And that's okay. But they really should have just moved some of that money elsewhere, because it is disappointing, and I can definitely see why this show didn't last at all. I mean, we got through episodes to 14, and we still have, I think that puts us at about what halfway through? Halfway
we're
through?
Almost. I think we are. We're halfway through with episode 14, which is the next one.
Right. So like 26 episodes?
Yep.
Yeah.
Or 27.
Something like that. 26, 27. So we're like at the halfway mark.
Excuse me, 29 episodes.
Okay. We're about at the halfway mark, and it has already just drastically took a turn. So I'm, let's just, I guess we talk about the last one.
The last episode is All Hallows Eve. It actually aired on Halloween in 1987, and it's written by Craig Tepper, who wrote A World of Difference. It's directed by Larry Shaw, some more character actors, Camille Cooper, Walter Addison, Bob Ari, and the episode opens with Eric working at like a costume store on Halloween, and he's invited to go to a Halloween party by this girl, but the pentagram appears on his hand, and so he goes to lock himself in an abandoned house that turns out it's not actually abandoned, and it's lived in by
standard haunted house.
Yeah, it's
shenanigans happen.
It's lived in by what is ostensibly Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th.
From Friday the 13th.
The second one where he's got the bag on his head. Yeah.
But yeah, Eric Cord, let's talk about this, because he gets invited to this party by this girl who's, I'm sorry, how old?
I guess she looks 16.
She's having a party because her parents aren't going to be home.
Right, sure.
And Eric Cord has been on the run because he was in college. Okay, so he was in college. We know he was in college. So we already have a problem here. But aside from that, yeah, he just goes to live in this house with his generic fried chicken box, which I thought was hilarious.
And again, it also opens on him with another just job.
Yeah, whereas he's just working at what, a chicken place now? Or
No, he's
whatever?
No, he's working at a Halloween store.
Oh, wait, no, yeah, that's right, because those kids, like, steal that. Oh, yeah. The Stephen King gang.
Yeah,
The
It gang.
Steal those,
The Bowers gang, as it were, shows up. But you know, it's just weird because, again, he just has a random job, no ramifications for the previous episode. How he keeps getting these jobs is beyond me. There's a price check for 24 ounces of candy corn, which that's not real. Nobody eats 24 ounces of candy corn, let alone buys it. So, and he just keeps wandering into these, like, weird locations that coincidentally have to do with him.
Right, he's just living. So he's working at these places and he has money, I guess. But what's he doing with it? Because he just lives in these abandoned places. He basically is a squat, like he's a drifter and a squatter, and but he can still manage to get jobs and show his face without a disguise and use his real name. I mean, it's no wonder that Alamo Joe can follow him so easily, but still.
Yeah. And so he goes into this abandoned house. It turns out it's not abandoned. There's like a recluse living there who's disfigured. And lo and behold, it turns out the girl that asked Eric to go to this party is the recluse's daughter. And he locked himself away because he got burned by a phosphorus explosion, which is never explained, but more or less just said, phosphorus, have you ever seen it burn someone? And it's like, no. Okay.
I don't want to.
So it's just weird. I mean, this episode is, again, keeping with what we've seen on the show so far. It is very much just how is the episode kind of conclude? What's the climax of the episode? Those Bowers gang kids come into the house. They start harassing the disfigured guy. Eric breaks out, turns into a werewolf, and scares them off.
Right. And doesn't. And this is where we get the recognition. He sees the girl that asked him to the party, right?
Yeah.
And then he doesn't, like, eat her because...
He also did the same thing in the Unicorn where he shows up, where at the end he turns into the werewolf and he doesn't kill the girl, Tracy Lind, who is the prostitute.
Right. So if you're a hot lady, you're good.
Or you're a scientist doctor in that episode we watched.
Right.
On the last episode. I believe that was the Spectre of the Wolf. Dr. Victor de Goethals, when he was like, you're the werewolf, and he doesn't kill him. So I don't get it. Again, there's no rules, and the problem is there's just the continuity and the narrative disconnect. It's not that it's not getting any better, it's just that they're not doing anything about it.
No, it's getting...
I'm not sure it's getting worse. I just don't think it's...
staying the same.
Yeah.
It just is what it is, and it's unfortunate that that's how it's going to be for the next, like...
Well, we don't know
15.
that because there's going to be a change. There's not the Chuck Connors character is going to get written out of the show and replaced by Brian Thompson, who played the alien bounty hunter in the X-Files. So we know that there is a change coming. It's just we don't know what that is. So going into this next stand of episodes, the second to last stand of episodes, what are you kind of hoping for? What are your expectations about what you want to see in these next 8 episodes?
I mean, I would like to see another, like, maybe Eric gets, like, a sidekick, a companion of some kind to take along with him, because I think that might help sort of drive more of a story if you have, like, 2 characters that are with each other and they have to, you know, they're talking, they're sharing these experiences, so it might, like, add a little bit more credibility and strength to each episode on top of one another. I don't think that that's going to happen. I would like it to. I would like to see, you know, like, I would like to see what Brian Thompson does as the new Heavy. That's going to be interesting, I think, and it'll be... I mean, I like Chuck Connors. I love Tourist Trap. And he is a good villain, but they don't give him really... He doesn't really have anything to do in this, and especially right now, he's just body doubles.
Well,
So yeah, it'll be nice to see.
We knew that was coming, obviously.
Yeah, so it'll be nice to have, like, an actual present villain again. Maybe that's more engaging.
Because honestly, if there was that villain every episode, like the back and forth, I think I'd be more invested.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that I would be, like, because then there's stakes. because then it's like Eric's, responsible for this person. And I guess he can't do that because he's a werewolf, and if he wolfs out, then he could potentially... But that would add conflict, and that would add, drama to this drama. There would be action, and there would be... What if he accidentally killed somebody? Let's have that.
Let's have him have an internal conflict.
Yeah, sure, maybe he does have, a raged moment, and he accidentally, hurt somebody that he didn't mean to, but... We're never going to... I feel like we're not going to get that because I think that they just want him to be purely the good guy.
Well, and I agree 100%. We're pretty much on the same page. Those are the things I would like to see. But, honestly, what I think we're going to get is kind of unless having Brian Thompson come in as the overlord werewolf, which was the one who turned Skorzeny into a werewolf, which is kind of what I've been led to believe is what his character is going to be, kind of the grandfather werewolf. It's just going to kind of be more of the same, but because it's Brian Thompson and not Chuck Connors, a known quantity, as it were, hopefully he'll be in the show more, which would be interesting. But again, episode 15 is where we're starting on the next episode, and that is the halfway point of the show. So we'll see. So on the next episode of the One Season Show, we're going to be talking about Blood on the Tracks, Nightmare at the Brain Hotel, Wolf Hunt, Blood Ties, Big Daddy, Eye of the Storm, Nightmare in Blue, and Skin Walker.
Weeks to come, the road Eric Cord must travel is a lonely one peopled by demons. The demon he pursues, Skorzeny, a monster who must die to end Eric's curse. The demon inside him, the bloodlust that threatens to turn Eric into a killer out of control. And the demons that plague humanity, fear, greed, guilt, and revenge. But there are other travelers on this road that renew Eric's courage and hope, the strength of friendship, the love of a family, the warmth of a young girl's heart, priceless and grasped for only an instant before they slip away. But they all remain allies in Eric's battle with evil, the evil around him and the evil within, whose name is Werewolf.
So until then, where can people find you, Jess?
You can find me on Twitter at writer Jess Byard, and you can also find me occasionally on your podcast, Chris, The Culture Cast, where we're usually talking 3.5 hour long movies, because that's what we like to do with our time. And occasionally guest on other podcasts like The Projection Booth and other episodes of your podcast. So follow me on Twitter and keep up with me there.
And you can find me on Twitter at casualty_Chris. Like Jess mentioned, there are several podcasts that I do. The Culture Cast is one of them. I also do a podcast about Kolchak the Night Stalker, and that is called The Kolchak Tapes. And then I also do a podcast called Chronicles from the Crypt, that is about Tales from the Crypt. And then I also do another podcast called Dreams for Sale, and that one's about the Twilight Zone 1985, the first reboot of the Twilight Zone. Until then, you can find this podcast over at oneseasonshow.com. You can find it on all podcatchers, both iOS and Android, along with Spotify and Google Music. We are on the We Made This Podcast Network, so please go ahead and check out the rest of our shows. We got a great one. Jess is going to be on a Pick-a-Disc episode at some point in the future. I was just on a Pick-a-Disc episode where we talk about music, so go check that out. Matt is doing God's work over there with a music podcast. Big thanks, as always, to Curtain Peepers for Who's Lovin' Me, the music for the One Season Show. We'll catch you on the next episode.